Hi everybody, I'm Flint Rasmussen. Welcome to RFD TV and the Road to the American. The American, the world's largest one-day rodeo with a $2 million purse. March 2nd, 2014, AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, where the Dallas Cowboys play, one of the greatest venues in all of sports. Happy to be joined this evening by my friend Steve Kenyon, rodeo announcer, radio personality, and jack of all trades, if you will. Today, we're talking about qualifiers. That $2 million purse sitting there, a $1 million side pot sitting there for the taking by one of those qualifiers. Maybe, Steve, we should talk a little bit about the American Rodeo presented by Polaris Ranger. Talk a little bit about the structure of it. The winner of each event guaranteed $100,000. The top 10 in each event from the PRCA World Standings, the top 10 from the PBR World Standings in the bull riding. Those winners guaranteed $100,000, $25,000 to second place. But there's a little hitch there. Qualifiers, they're taking place all over the country. And if one of those qualifiers works his way up through the ranks, he's entitled to a little bit more money.
He gets a pretty nice little bonus, that qualifier does, or she. There's $1 million bonus that is waiting for the qualifiers in addition to the $100,000. And the qualifiers themselves have got the opportunity to enjoy what amounts to a life-changing experience. You win that kind of money in one day. That is the kind of thing that changes your life. And so it's all hanging out there and waiting for these qualifiers. And the Cinderella stories are the kind of thing that we're really looking forward to. Who will be the one that breaks through? Who will it be? A 16-year-old kid? Will it be a seasoned veteran who didn't finish in the top 10 in the world standings and came through the qualifying program? However that works, those qualifiers have got the opportunity of a lifetime waiting for them at AT&T Stadium on March the 2nd.
Will it be a guy who decided after 8 or 9 years to come out of retirement?
Exactly. Possibly
be an exemption like a Justin McBride or a Dan Mortensen, a guy like that. And a lot of people not completely understanding that $1 million. It is a side pot. If through the 7 rodeo events, one qualifier wins their event, they get the whole $1 million. If 4 qualifiers happen to win their event, they each get $250,000. But it is a $2 million payout on that particular day. Today on this show, tonight, our main event that we want to talk about is the tie-down roping. We are going to emphasize qualifiers. However, there are 10 people that after the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo from the PRCA World Standings, we know they are going to be there. Currently, we know the top 15 in the PRCA World Standings. And as we look at the top 15 in the PRCA World Standings, there they are. But really, our cutoff point tonight, before that National Finals Rodeo starts, is the top 5. That's kind of a cutoff point where when we look at those standings, we know, you know what, these top 5, they're going to be in Arlington, Texas at AT&T Stadium. There are some world titles and some NFR qualifications in that top 5.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, take a look at that list. You know how many millions of dollars worth of money won exists in that top 5 in the tie-down roping world standings? Tuff Cooper, 2-time reigning world champion, the fastest man to $1 million in his career. Tyson Durfee, who is a 3-time Canadian Pro Rodeo Association champion in the number 2 spot. Cody Ohl is headed to his 18th Wrangler National Finals Rodeo this year. Trevor Brazil, who has qualified for the National Finals Rodeo more times than he has had birthdays, if you think of it that way. And Scott Kormos, who is 8 times a National Finals Rodeo qualifier. That is an amazing field in the top 5, not to mention the guys down from number 6 through 15. But you look at these guys, and you look at this list of guys, we know that those top 5 will be there. There's a chance for some of the guys 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to maybe get bumped out, some of the guys 15 through 11 to move in. But that group of the top 5 right there is an amazing group of tie-down ropers.
Yeah, and that's why we stress the top 5, that money cutoff. We feel pretty confident that those are the guys that are going to be there. But there's been some qualifiers, and we later in the show here, we're going to be joined by a young man that won one of these qualifiers. And the qualifier was the very first one. It was in the tie-down roping, and it was in Stephenville, Texas. The top 10 now, they're not automatically in to Arlington, into AT&T Stadium. They have to go through the semifinals in Mesquite, Texas, which a lot of people talking about Arlington. Watch out, that rodeo in Mesquite, Texas, as good as you can find. The top 10 from that qualifier in Stephenville, Texas, they get to go to Mesquite. Let's start at number 10, Will Howell. Number 9, Hunter Heron.
Wow.
There's a national finals rodeo guy. Number 8, we're taking the Wayback Machine. It's Ricky Canton. And, he's excited. I've spoken to him since this qualifier. Excited to be going to Mesquite. Ace Sloan finished number 16 in 2012 on the very last weekend. He's a guy, a great instructor. Adam Gray, National Finals Rodeo. Blaine Cox, Scott Meeks, Marty Yates, Trevor Thiel. Number 1, looking at the top, as we look at those names, a lot of people watching right now may be going, Westyn.Hughes, has he been to the NFR? Maybe that name's familiar. No. That guy is 16 years old, and he beat all of them to get to punch his ticket, I might say, to Mesquite, Texas. We're going to be joined later in the show. We're going to be joined by Westyn.Hughes. You and I have seen his run. We've seen it. We're going to take a look at it later and let him break it down. We've talked to him. We've watched him run. I want to see a birth certificate.
You're saying this is not a 16-year-old kid. He doesn't rope like a 16-year-old kid. He doesn't carry himself like a 16-year-old kid. And look at the list of guys that he just found himself competing with and against at that first qualifier. Not to mention the guys he's got to get through at the rodeo in Mesquite. But I think you'll be very interested in this young man.
Yeah, and I've had people ask me. We've heard interviews with this 16-year-old Westyn.Hughes. Well, he made it so far, but now he's got to go to Mesquite. There's always that skepticism. Weird how society works that way. You brought it up. He just beat Hunter Heron, Adam Gray, Ricky Canton. What more does he need to do? Well, I know what more he needs to do. He needs to beat the rest of them in Mesquite, Texas. So I'm looking forward to that. But I think that's the ticket I want to buy, is to Mesquite, Texas.
Yeah, and we talk about, and there it is again, those tie-down roping qualifiers from Stephenville. I mentioned the fact that there's $1 million bonus sitting out there for somebody if they're a qualifier. Imagine you're 16 years old and you got $1 million dangling in front of you if you go rope a couple of calves faster than everybody else does. Kind of amazing opportunity Westyn.Hughes does.
Great question. What would Westyn.Hughes do with $1 million? I know one thing I'd do. I'd get a limo for the prom.
Attaboy.
That would be what I'd do. So we're going to talk to young Westyn.Hughes, 16 years old, one of the qualifiers from Stephenville, Texas. This is Road to the American, presented by Polaris Ranger, the world's largest one-day rodeo in history, a $2 million purse. March 2nd, 2014, Steve Kenyon joining me. I'm Flint Rasmussen. Coming up after the break, we'll get to see young Westyn.Hughes rope, and we'll talk to him right after this break on RFD TV. Welcome back to Road to the American, presented by Polaris Ranger. I'm Flint Rasmussen, joined by my co-host Steve Kenyon, and welcomed now by their young tie-down roping phenom, Mr. Westyn.Hughes from Caldwell, Texas. Welcome, Westyn. You good?
Thank you for having me. I really like it.
Yeah. Have you ever been to Nashville? We're in Nashville.
No, sir. First time I've ever been here.
So having fun?
Yes, sir.
Going out on the town?
Yes, sir.
Caldwell, Texas. Tell us, for people watching out there, tell us a little bit about Caldwell, Texas. Where is it? How many people, kind of community it is?
Well, the population is 4,000. It's a small town. We're in between Houston, Austin, San Antonio, and Dallas. We're right there in Central Texas, about 30 minutes from Texas A&M and Bryan College Station. Johnny Football.
Johnny
Yes,
Football.
sir.
You a Texas A&M fan?
Yes, sir.
So we'll call you Westyn Rodeo.
There we
How's
go.
That?
That's good.
You're getting a lot of attention here on RFD TV. I've had you on my show on rural radio. Are you handling it okay, or maybe I should ask, do you like it?
Oh, I like it. It's pretty fun. It's something new for me. I've never done stuff like this before.
Well, I would hope you're 16. So So you still, we're building you up, you know, from the qualifier in Stephenville, Texas, but you still have to go to Mesquite, Texas, which, you know, lucky for you, there's going to be a lot of qualifiers come from a lot of different places around the country, make their way to Mesquite, Texas, trying to get then to Arlington. Short drive for you. It's easy on you. It's easy on your horses. But you still have to get through those semifinals. Guys that are going to be there, we saw them. Adam Gray, Ricky Canton, a guy like Blair Burke is going to be there. There's going to be a lot of big names. You know, there's the top 10, Westyn, if you want to look. From just your qualifier, Will Howe, Hunter Heron, Ricky Canton, Ace Sloan. Real quick, are there any guys on that list that you maybe have watched their videos, gone to their schools, some guys you look up to particularly on that list that you can think of?
Yes, sir, Ricky Canton. I go to his calf ropings all the time. He has them in Navasota, and that's an hour from the house. I started going to his ropings probably when I was 9 years old, so I've watched him rope a lot. Adam Gray, it's cool just to get to rope against those guys. Hunter Heron, I mean, doesn't get much better than that.
How do they take a 16-year-old kid taking their money?
Oh, I don't know how to answer that. They're probably not too worried about me.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it's no big deal at all. Are you walking in there? There's going to be guys there at Mesquite, and then of course in Arlington. Then that on any given year, especially in the tie-down roping, we talked about it. When you look at the top 30 or even the top 40 in the PRCA world standings, guys that can be there on any given year.
There are guys, you know, the top 30, the top 40 in the PRCA's world standings. If you used to look at the guys that are not qualified for the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo this year, any one of them could have been. I mean, that's how deep the field of ropers is in professional rodeo. But, you know, I guess I think of it, Westyn, and I look at it this way. You're going to have an opportunity, and I don't know, being in Texas, maybe you get to rope against some of these guys a lot. But you're going to be, if you make it all the way to AT&T Stadium, you're going to be roping against Trevor Brazil, Tough Cooper, Cody Ole. Have you ever roped against guys like that in one setting at one time before?
Yes, sir. At the St. Angelo Open Fiesta, I roped against those guys this year and the past year. Yes, sir.
So it doesn't, you're not intimidated. When you walk in there with the confidence, not say, of a 16-year-old kid hoping to do something. Do you go in there with the understanding that you're their equal?
Well, all I can do is just do my best. It don't matter if I'm roping against people my age or, you know, Cody Ole. That's all I can do. So I go at it the same way, 100% every run.
Let's take a look at your run.
Yes, sir.
This is your winning run that earned you a spot and a ticket to Mesquite from Stephenville, Texas, qualifier, ultimate calf roping qualifier event. We're going to take it. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to watch the run. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Well, this short round, I knew how to get the rope around the calf's neck. I dug him up out of the ground, had a really good horse that day, and I think that helped me out a lot because they had some really strong calves that I drew. Yes, sir.
Let's take, let's loop it back. Now, Steve, you've done a lot. You break it down as a rodeo announcer's perspective.
Well, okay, now here he comes. He reaches out. He's got it on the calf. Now, right here, Westyn, that calf was down when you got to him. And tie-down ropers normally like to have him up. It saves them a little bit of time. And you're not the biggest guy in the world, but you were able to get a pretty solid flank on that calf. Talk about that at all. Would you have rather have had him standing there? Would you have rather had him been on all feet when you got to him? What happened there?
Well, that calf, he had outran everyone that day. He hadn't got roped that day. So my plan was to jerk him down because I didn't know what he was going to do on the ground. I was going to try to take a little energy out of him.
You mentioned that you had, as we saw the video there, you getting back on that horse. You mentioned the fact that you had a really good horse that particular day. Do you have one or two set horses that you ride all the time? Do you know what you'll ride in Mesquite? Do you know what, if you make it to the American, what you would ride at this point?
Well, hopefully I ride that horse I got from Seth Rodriguez, but I do have a backup horse I got from Robert Walsh. She's a really good horse. Yes, sir.
So as we know, and the question that gets asked a lot of guys, tie-down ropers are big as far as giving a percentage. What percentage is the horse? What's the cowboy? I never know how to answer that. Do you know how to answer that?
Well, you can't beat your competitors with a $40 rope. You need to beat them with your $30,000 horse. That's why the horse costs much more than the rope, you see. Wow. That's what my dad tells me all the time.
Can't beat them with a $40 rope. You beat them with your $30,000 horse.
Yes, sir.
Would you, if you were to win a good amount even a second place at Arlington or a big chunk at Mesquite, would that go back in to facilities, ropes, or would you invest in better horsepower?
Well, I would invest in better horsepower because that's what you have to have in the tie-down roping. Your horse is 75% of it. And I try to put a lot of it into the bank to where when I turn 18, I want a pro rodeo. So I want to have some money saved up for that.
Speaking of wanting to pro rodeo, right when you're 18, I'm sure that's your main goal. You and I have talked, although you're a sophomore in high school,
yes, sir.
You have chosen not to high school rodeo in the state of Texas, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, reason being?
Well, at the amateur rodeos, it's a lot more tougher competition, and it really makes me step my game up, I feel like. Yes, sir. And the rodeos pay quite a bit more than the high school rodeos
No
do
way.
there.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Believe me, I haul a high school rodeo girl. I would hope the rodeos you're going to pay more than the rodeos there. So do you get pressure from other parents, other families that you should high school rodeo?
Yes, sir. Well, all the people say, oh, you have to high school rodeo. Well, it's my choice, and I feel like it helps my roping. Me stepping my game up, it's good for at the end.
Yeah. Well, you can take that all the way to the bank. I want to take a break, Steve. We're going to talk a little bit more, and a guy that I want to talk to, your dad's in town with you, of course, because you couldn't drive here by yourself and get a hotel room. So I want to talk to your dad. Westyn.Hughes, the 16-year-old tie-down roping phenom. He's qualified at Stephenville, Texas, to be at Mesquite, Texas for the American qualifier, hopefully on his way to winning $1 million there in AT&T Stadium. This is Road to the American, presented by Polaris Ranger. I'm Flint Rasmussen. We'll be right back right here on RFD TV. Welcome back to Road to the American. I'm Flint Rasmussen. And wait, I know we're supposed to be live. Excuse me. I don't have anything.
What do we do?
Could somebody talk to me, please? No. I can't hear you. Oh, hold up. Here, when they're moving me, I knew I was. You gotta smile. Remember, you told us. It's right here.
Coaching the.
Man, if we'd have been live.
I wish I spoke like that at 16. I wish I spoke like that today.
Okay, I'm good. I knew something was wrong, you guys. Sorry.
Well, I was trying to figure out what you were talking about because I could hear.
Oh, okay. All right, well, we got Dad now, so are we all, sorry, when we moved everybody, it got stepped on. So, are we okay?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, guys. Sorry about that. Welcome back to Road to the American. I'm Flint Rasmussen along with Steve Kenyon right here on RFD TV. The American, presented by Polaris Ranger, of course, the largest one-day rodeo in the history of the sport, taking place March 2nd, 2014 at AT&T Stadium right there in Arlington, Texas. Joined today by one of our qualifiers. That's what we're talking about today. Qualifiers, those people that work their way up, living the dream, beating their competitors, beating the people that they have looked up to for all these years, and eligible, of course, for that $1 million side pot bonus. Joined today by Westyn.Hughes, the 16-year-old tie-down roping phenom, and we've brought into the conversation a man who Westyn couldn't do this without, his dad, Scott. Scott, we'll lead you through this. Don't worry, I know we caught you off guard. Yeah. But before we went to break, Scott and Westyn, Steve, you had a question for Westyn before we went to the break. What do you have?
Westyn, real simply, you look at the opportunity to rope with and against, you mentioned Ricky Canton as one of your idols, guys like Trevor Brazil, guys like Tough Cooper, guys like Adam Gray. What do you learn as a young and aspiring and growing roper, a very talented roper, watching and competing against those guys that have been there and done that? What have you learned from that opportunity?
Well, just how they like their mental game, how they prepare themselves before they rope. It's more than just backing in the corner and roping a calf. Your mind has to be right on it.
What about, on the same line, I'm making a note because I'm curious. You say it's more than backing in the box and roping a calf. What about those guys, and maybe there's somebody in particular who you watch and have learned something outside of the arena? Because our experience with you, here, I'll call it on campus, here before the show, and I'm sure afterwards, you're a pretty good guy. You've learned from somewhere. Is there somebody out of the arena, your conduct out of the arena, that you've learned from and look up to?
Yes, sir. That would be my dad, for sure. Yes, sir.
And, well, we've brought Scott in here. Tell us about Scott, this kid, his commitment to what he's doing. What do you see in the everyday process that really tells you, yeah, this is worth it for me?
Right. Well, since Westyn's been little, we recognize that his desire to do what he does, really showed through his work ethic. He lives in the arena, when I come home every day around the corner, I tell people all the time, I come around the bend and there's a line of horses tied to the fence and I'm thinking, oh God, here we go another night, 10 o'clock, here we go again, but, he's willing to put that effort into it, so we're willing to do all we can to help him along the way,
Because it is a commitment physically, emotionally, financially as well. When your kids, when they decide to do it, there has to be a switch in us, I'll say, as parents, where we know that's what they want to do and we have to support it when it's not just a passing fancy as a kid. Can you remember an age that Westyn was where you said, yeah, we're going to dive in here?
Well, first off, the standing joke at our house is, for what it cost us to take Westyn down the road, we could have a house in Hawaii or Belize, And of course, the little sister, looks at him and is like, really, So, but hey, when he got probably 10, 11, 12 years old, maybe, we realized that this was more than just a pastime, and we knew that it was time to go ahead and start making arrangements to try to stand behind him all the way.
Westyn, real quick, you're homeschooled?
Yes,
You're
sir.
a sophomore in high school, but you're homeschooled. You find that fits this lifestyle a little better for you?
Yes, sir.
And do you get pressure from kids, friends of yours, to go to public school? Never had any interest in maybe being in other sports, things like that?
Oh, yes, sir. Well, I used to play football, and at that point I had to step back and think, roping is my main sport, and I don't want to jeopardize, getting hurt. And I couldn't rope no more. So I thought about it, and I said, well, I'm just going to be homeschooled, and not take a chance on getting hurt and playing football.
And you said, is there other kids in the family, you just said?
Yeah, little sister, she's 13 years old, ropes a little. A lot more natural roper, believe it or not, than Westyn, but doesn't.
Yeah, isn't that how it
could care
goes?
less, loves horses, and she's a volleyball, basketball player. So.
Well, maybe I should ask you real quick. $1 million, does that mean anything to a kid that's 16? What you said you would invest in more horsepower, but would the whole $1 million be this guy's, or is this a family? Do we understand this is a family endeavor?
Oh, Grandma and Grandpa have made it pretty clear it's all his, So, the money definitely his, but might be able to support himself along the way a little better than he has been, So that'd be a nice
it's
relief.
Not a, Scott, not a bad group of people to be around, is it?
No,
this rodeo world.
It's not. It's a family sport, The kids we know that he's grown up with. We've grown up with their families, and great group of people. Well,
listen, we appreciate you guys coming. You've come all the way from Caldwell, Texas, and I know you didn't fly directly out of there. No direct flights in here. So listen, Westyn, we're proud of you, and thanks for coming around to the studio, and I know everybody here is impressed with you, and we're cheering for you.
Thank you, sir.
Dad, Scott, we appreciate you, and we hope and we know by talking to this young man that he appreciates you too. We know the commitment by the parents, and good luck the rest of the way. Good luck in Mesquite. We'll keep up with you. Keep practicing, keep getting sharp, and like I told you on the radio, keep taking those old guys' money.
Yes,
we
sir.
like to see that.
Thank you, sir.
This has been Road to the American. Again, thanks to Steve Kenyon for joining me. That $1 million is sitting out there. The American, March 2nd, 2014, presented by Polaris Ranger, right there at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Going to be one of the greatest events that this sport and this lifestyle here, our Western Empire, has ever seen. Thanks for joining us again tonight on RFD TV. I'm Flint Rasmussen, Steve Kenyon, Westyn, and Scott Hughes. Thanks for coming. We'll see you next time, everybody.